Next up is Timons Esaias. Tim is a satirist, a writer, and a poet living in Pittsburgh. His works, ranging from literary to genre, have been published in 20 languages. He has also been a finalist for the British Science Fiction Award and won the Asimov Readers Award. His story, Norbert and the System, has appeared in a textbook and in college curricula. His science fiction short story, Sadness, was selected for 3 years' best anthologies in 2015. His full-length Lewis Award-winning collection of poetry, Why Elephants No Longer Communicate in Greek, was released last year by Concrete Wolf. He teaches at Seton Hill University in the Writing Popular Fiction MFA program. Please give Tim a welcome.
I'm going to depend on you to do the timekeeping because you're going to cut me off. Yeah. Give me the signal. Because, normally I write literary fiction and science fiction, but this piece actually involves crime, criminals, and the police, and because she's going to cut me off, it'll be a mystery. It's entitled To Do. On my desk, nestled among the chess pieces I use for paperweights, is a to-do list with a single entry: plan life. This should mean that sometime today I'll be doing whatever such a note is meant to imply. It should mean that, but, well, I've been putting this to-do item off for quite a while now. I wrote the note weeks ago, before the funeral, before the blimp crashed down the street, before the nutty neighbor with the rubber band Gatling gun. I'm not making this up. If I were making it up, it wouldn't reflect so badly on me. I'd be the hero rather than the guy who seems to be afraid of a piece of paper, afraid of a note that I was able to write to myself. My sister would laugh at that paragraph. She'd say, "So you can dish it out, but you can't take it, huh?" Okay, part of the problem is that the note keeps changing. Not the note itself, but what it means. Written instructions are like that. I bet the 10 Commandments were supposed to apply to a limited group of people for what, a month at the outside? Maybe not. Anyway, I originally wrote the note in that little coffee shop down below the castle, or what we call the castle in this part of town. I'm looking at their list of organic coffees, was looking, I mean, the day I wrote the note, and wondering what they make inorganic coffee out of. Coal tar? No, even that was organic originally. Sandstone. And the dark roast from obsidian, I assume. So the note meant, when I wrote it, that I should make a big breakthrough in my job, which is pretty much figuring out the future. That's what I do for a living. I figure out what's likely to happen to people, how their lives are likely to turn out. I'm like an actuary, but for individuals, not groups. There are lots of folks who are willing to pay good money to know how long you're going to last or when you'll quit your job. Mostly these folks are not your friends, but they're my clients. While there are several people who do what I do, there isn't a single formula for how to figure this out. So it occurred to me that I could be the Einstein of my field if I'd boil down the stuff I know into a single basic plan for human life, to which adjustments would be made for particular cases. Plan the standard human life was what the note meant. But, well, then Charlie, who was a mule, died, and I had to dodge the funeral. He was a mule like a drug smuggling person, not being half a jackass. But he was a horse. Here's the deal. I made a joke about this in the wrong company. Why not have animals swallow all those little bags of drugs and bring them across the border? I'm joking. It was late. I had no idea what I was saying or who I was saying it to, but pretty soon Iggy, who's in that trade, has bought himself a Mustang and trained it to find its way home. So he's got this deal. He takes the horse over the border in a carrier to a farm down there. It goes through whatever quarantine is required in Mexico, and then the folks on the farm pack him, Charlie, with drugs and turn him loose in the countryside. Next day, Charlie is back in his stable on this side of the border and practically shitting money. Let's not think about that. You'd have thought the customs guys would notice that the same horse kept going south, but the trailer was always empty coming north. Apparently not. Anyway, Charlie maybe has one of those bags open up inside or takes his time with a filly on the way home or something, but he gets sick, he dies. And Iggy expects me to go to the funeral. But I'm thinking maybe the feds are going to bust the funeral. Maybe they got wise. And I know that there are people who don't realize that I was just making a joke, that I'm not in the drug trade, but they resent that I gave Iggy this idea. I figure maybe not showing up at his funeral might put my own funeral off a tad. So then, since I haven't acted on the note, the Plan Life note, in the meantime, I'm thinking I should also remember to interpret the note as suggesting that I need to rethink my friends, my circumstances, and the coffee shops you can find me in at all hours. Like maybe it's time to get my stuff together where I can find it later and not have to be surprised at the time. And though, again, don't get me wrong, I don't actually do that, or the other version of what the note meant either, it got me to thinking, and I not only ducked the funeral, but I drove up north into Colorado to look at a house that I'd once thought of living in, if it was for sale, which it wasn't. So I canned that idea, and next morning I'm turning the corner about 3 blocks down the street, and just about tasting the breakfast I planned to cook when this great big shadow passes over the car, and a blimp, which is what made the shadow, crashes into the house right ahead, which, by the way, is for sale, if I wanted to stay in the neighborhood after all. The explosion is huge, melts the plastic on my SUV and bubbles the paint. Cops figure somebody put hydrogen in the thing along with the helium. And the blimp is owned, I'm not making this up, by one of Iggy's competitors. Ferdinand, he calls himself. Something about how he keeps hawking his wife's jewels. I don't know. Anyway, this Ferdinand is in the hospital on chemo, but he grips his grudges like a mother-in-law. So I'm taking this whole blimp explosion kind of personal. Now, while they're craning my half-melted SUV onto the tow truck, I'm looking at the timekeeper, she's 1 minute. Okay, I'm thinking I should remember that the Plan Life note means I shouldn't just get my life together, I should dump it for a brand new one with a different name. I'm thinking I could work from Maine. But the cops suggested I shouldn't leave town for a while, and that killed a couple days. And then I put it off for a few days because I have trouble abandoning things without getting good and drunk first. And then in the morning, I had finally decided I would do something about that note. Well, about 1 million cop cars come storming into the neighborhood. I watched a SWAT team pop out of the tank they came in, shotguns at the ready. Naturally, I came out the front door with my hands up. Doesn't do any good. 2 of them tackle me into a bed of prickly pear by the walk, a move we all regret later. And I'm thinking about that damn note and how I should quit adding meanings to things and just do what's on my to-do list, period. Now, that's it. Okay.